When you tell me that it was an accident, I disregard that statement altogether.
So this sentencing hearing starts with a victim asking the court for mercy. But as the hearing goes on, the judge starts focusing less on the request for leniency and more on the pattern behind what happened. Watch how Judge Hunter responds when the defendant tries to explain away the violence as an accident. My name is Dan. This is the Courtroom Files, and Ellie says hi too.
Can I go over it?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Thompson, do you have any corrections, additions, or deletions?
Your Honor, I think the prosecutor and I agree that the prior record misdemeanors on the cover face sheet at 0 is actually incorrect. And the prosecutor is suggesting 6. I don't object to that.
So I counted a number of misdemeanors. I didn't have the specific number, but Ms. Goh, do you think there's 6 total that are listed in the PSI?
Yes, 2003 retail fraud and possession of tobacco, 2006 OWI, 2015 DV, 2022 impaired, and 2025 DV were all misdemeanors. So I had 6.
You think scoring was accurate, just not listed on the big sheet?
Correct.
Do you agree with that, Mr. Thompson?
I don't object to that, Your Honor.
We'll make that adjustment then. Do you have any other corrections, additions, or deletions?
No, Your Honor.
Do you believe the guidelines at 9 to 23 are accurate?
I do.
Ms. Goh, do you believe the guidelines are accurate?
I do.
Do you have other corrections, additions, or deletions?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have a victim that wants to help you?
She contacted us this morning and said she was sick.
I'm here. Okay.
And did you want to be heard?
I do.
All right, come forward, please.
You can use the podium. You
Yeah,
can.
right to the podium, please. If you could say your name.
Jessica Elizabeth McNally.
Mr. McNally, I'm sorry, mispronouncing your name. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. You have the right to be heard and to tell the court anything you think I should be aware of regarding sentencing.
I'm probably the spouse of Robert Emery. I have known Robert for over 20 years, and I truly am in love with the man. I believe he is an amazing, talented, incredibly smart man that can accomplish anything he puts his mind into. I truly believe I know this man more than anyone and couldn't be more ready for things to be different. We both are. I apologize in my part, in which has brought the reason upsetting him in the beginning. I should never have done it. Looking back upon our lives, Robert never really was an angry person until coming home from his stay in prison. He has been doing outpatient counseling at the Grace Center, but he really does need more. He needs to attend a long-term inpatient facility such as the Lion's Den. Therefore, I ask the courts to please give this deep consideration. This man and our family deserve a chance of the healing and freedom from so many bondages and bring peace. Instead of jail time where he sits and does nothing all day, in prison time to become even more angrier and have drugs be more available than on the streets, and where he still struggles with PTSD from, sending him back to this doesn't make sense to me. Therefore, I beg the court allow Robbie to take time to learn and how to live life on life's terms. And a life healed and forgiven, as I do the same. So we can not only be a best version for ourselves in each other, but for our children one day too. Thank you for your consideration.
Ms. Goh, on behalf of people.
Your Honor, the guidelines in this case are 9 to 23. Mr. Emery has a long criminal history. It involves alcohol and drugs and violence repeatedly throughout. This is not a person, this is his first time, violating the criminal behavior. This is his 10th felony. He's got 16 convictions now on his record, as well as a juvenile record. He has done poor on bond and poor on probation. That's all through his PSI. Community corrections is for people who want to do better. And if Mr. Emery had wanted to do better, Lion's Den has been available to him over and over. We hear from this court repeatedly that people want to go to rehab when they're faced with jail. This is not a facility for rehabilitation. This is a criminal court for punishment for your behaviors. I do think people deserve a chance. I have advocated for that. I've been the prosecutor here almost 10 years, and I have come in for people who need to get treatment program. But at some point, and usually I would say your 10th felony is definitely there, you have given up all of the opportunities you have by continuing violent behavior. Mr. Emery knew the consequences of his actions because he's done this over and over and over and over. I don't see the point in continuing to put him on probation here in our community and giving him opportunities that he didn't want to take. He could have gone to Lion's Den long before this offense happened if he thought he needed it. He could have gone while he was on bond. This case has been pending for some time here now. He didn't do any of those things. I think the court needs to sentence him within the guidelines. I think a prison sentence is appropriate. I don't think continuing our community resources on somebody who clearly does not want them unless he's faced with jail is the only other option is appropriate. So I'd ask the court to send him to the MDOC and a sentence of 18 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, on behalf of Mr. Emery.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ask the court to consider Ms. McNally's comments. Mr. Emery is a person with a lot of potential, a person who's trying very hard and has a very supportive partner. Unfortunately, Mr. Emery's case is one where he's been struggling with substance abuse, Your Honor. Criminal justice system. He ended up in prison and he's still dealing with PTSD from that. And he feels horrible about how he reacted that day. I know Ms. McNally apologized for upsetting him, but Mr. Emery understands he's going to be upset in the future, that his partner's going to do things that upset him. That's part of any relationship. And he understands that he has to do better and he wants to do better. And that's why I think the day after he's arrested, he's been contacting me about being in Lion's Den, about getting help, about turning his life around, about being the husband that he wants to be for Ms. McNally. And he is very motivated, Your Honor. And he has contacted Lion's Den and he is preliminarily approved. And he is requesting that the court consider a blended sanction where he does some jail time because he understands he violated the law. He understands he can't do that. But what he really wants to do is to set the rest of his life up for a better path and a better course. He wants to go to Lion's Den. He wants to achieve sobriety. He's been sober. And he wants to continue that sobriety, and he wants, Your Honor, a chance to go to the Lion's Den. And I disagree with the prosecutor that doesn't involve punishment. I mean, this is a person who's going to be, pulled away from someone who loves him, pulled away from his job and his life. But he wants to do that because he wants to make those improvements that he needs to, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emery, was there anything that you wanted to tell me before I go sentence today?
I just hope that lengthy jail stay and Lions Den is something that we can do. I would like to be able to get home with my family. Another courthouse. This was an accident, Your Honor. I tossed the phone onto the nightstand, overshot it, and it bounced off the wall and hit her in the lip. You know what I mean? I thought before it got escalated any farther, I thought that I did what I was supposed to. I made sure her phone was there. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I've been trying very hard. I got off drugs, and I'm scared to go back to the MDOC because there's so many drugs readily available. I don't want to relapse again.
Thank you, Mr. Emery. Here, Mr. Emery is 39 years of age, being sentenced on your 10th felony with 6 prior misdemeanors, 2 of which were misdemeanor domestic violence, 1 of which you're on probation for assaulting the same victim. When you tell me that it was an accident, I disregard that statement altogether. Your statement is not believable because it's contrary to your sworn testimony under oath that you committed domestic violence. Domestic violences don't happen by accident. This domestic violence didn't happen by accident. Any suggestion by you now that it did, again, is discarded by me. It's not believable. It's not accepted. It's contrary to the established proofs that you offer in order to evade higher punishments, which include habitual fourth. I always take into account Ms. McNally statements of victims. The fact that you throw yourself under the bus and apologize for angering Mr. Emery. He was angry because you were texting people from the past is not really considered by me as a mitigating factor. Which to me, as the PSI agent writes in the PSI, that this cycle, unfortunately, is continued in part because you would throw yourself under the bus and take the blame for what Mr. Emery did. I'm not here blaming you as a victim But what I'm suggesting is that Mr. Emery isn't entitled to consideration because he is able to convince people that it's not his fault. Nobody has the right to touch you or hit you or throw things into your face and make you feel less. That's what happened in this case, and the PSI is abundantly clear about that. Mr. Emery, if you're 17 months sober, as you claim, Lions Den is not the place for you. If you're not, it's still not the place for you. Not when I look at the 10th felony conviction at the young age of 39. You've had a history of non-compliance with probation and parole, a history of returning to prison while on parole because you're possessing weapons and drunk driving. Now an alarming history of now your third conviction for domestic violence. The guidelines is 2023. Now I'm not bound by those guidelines in any way. They're instructive to me. I have to score them, but they also represent a calculated basis for me to look at this sentence. They take into account your offense variables. They take into account your prior record variables. They're a basic starting point for the exercise of my discretion. And for an individual on his 10th felony who doesn't take responsibility for what he did and tells me it's an accident on the day of sentencing, my discretion becomes much more limited. I have it, but it makes me consider the fact that you don't take responsibility and there's a little chance of rehabilitation. And there's nothing you could say, Mr. Emery, even if I let you talk again, which I'm not going to do, which would walk back those comments in the context of them. What you said matters. What defendants say to courts matter, always. So the court finds that a sentence within the guidelines range is appropriate. If you want to get into Lions Den when you're done with the prison sentence, you can. Nothing that I will do will stand in the way of it. Nothing that Ms. McNally will do will stand in the way of it. And it will only benefit you if that's what you think you need to have benefits in this community. The court finds that a prison sentence is indeed warranted in this case. You will be sentenced to the Michigan Department of Corrections for 13 months minimum, up to 5 years maximum. You have credit for 35 days that you previously served. I'll order that you pay a crime victim assessment of $130, $325 court costs, attorney's fees of $350, and a $68 state cost. Those fines, costs, and assessments are due today. If you don't pay them within 56 days of today's date, a 20% late fee gets added on. You do have the ability to ask the Court of Appeals for a leave to appeal for my judgment and my sentence. You can go through the appeal rights with your attorney. Mr. Thompson, do you have any questions or anything further for the record?
Not for the record, Your Honor, I just need to grab it.
Stoke, do you have anything further for the record?
No.
Just no contact order?
The court is not issuing any no contact order or not continuing it. That's a fair question. I don't ever generally consider no contact when I send somebody to prison, but that's a fair question. I'm not ordering any no contact. To the extent there was any suggestion of no contact, I don't see that there was. I would not order it. I'm not ordering it.
The initial. Right there, you reach for that. You're gonna take the bottom two copies and the lower section, look at what you fill out if you want to, without appeal. Yeah.
Are you ready, Mr. Holloway, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Mr. Holloway's with us.
And I'm ready for Mr. Nelson, but he's not on yet. We're still a few minutes early. Mr. Holloway, you can come up to the podium, please.
So I think there's a point where it was an accident, stops sounding like an explanation and starts sounding like avoidance and excuse. I think Judge Hunter clearly saw that it crossed that line, but I'm curious to know what you think and how you felt the sentence landed. So take a moment and let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, Ellie and I here would love it if you checked out one of the two that are on your screen right now. Thank you so much for watching.